many times in my life, um, of living this life of being a Christian, a man in this life, you're talking about from here, we'll say from here to 10 to 20 years ago until now. And I have been on this journey of faith, um, a journey where you you say your faith grows. I think, this is what has hurt so many people, has hurt so many people in the church where their faith did not grow. There's a guy, he plays these pranks on Christian. And this is something else. He plays these pranks on Christians, and excuse me. And if you excuse me, if you can hear the Christian's voice, you can tell that they are, some of them are, or you can say elders. They've been in the church for a while, and some of them is deacons and pastors and first ladies and stuff, and. And when he plays his pranks on them, it brings out something. It brings out something that when you first hear him talking to them, they are in this role of being a Christian. They in this role of being a saint. They in this role of being a saint in the church that has uh, Christian spiritual morals. And you are listening to this program where the man is playing a prank on them, and now the prank is getting very in depth, very serious, very personal. Very personal. And then all of a sudden, the saint that is being played on by this prank, they begin to retaliate. They begin to cuss. They begin to swear. They begin to want to be physical. There was one who mentioned his gun. But all before then, they was talking with a tone of, I guess it's this tone that is a fake tone that most Christians is adapt to, that makes them, it's some type of tone that seems like they are just saying in church. So when you ask yourself, you ask yourself this question, you say, well, if they was going to church and they're part of church and they're part of the Bible study, they're part of the teachings and the preachings and the teachings and the preachings and the teachings and the preachings, if you ask them how many sermons, and how many preachings, you know, that they have heard in their lifetime, how many books that they have read, and how many conferences that they have, been present in, how many revivals, and how many tapes and CDs and that they have in the house, and how many preachers they sent in amongst them, evangelists and apostles and pastors, and you ask them this, if you ask them how can one prank out of so many years, so many being in God's church, or in the church, let's say it like that, so many years, and you might say to me, you might say, they just human. You might say, they just human. You might say to me, they're just human. They might say to me, who is you to cast a stone? And it's amazing because I'm not casting the stone. I'm not forgetting that they are human. But my focus is the scriptures. If we are so adamant about hearing the right scriptures, receiving the right scriptures, having the right pastor, having the right evangelist, having the right Roscoe for a conference, having the right convocations, having the right ordainer, having the right everything when it comes to church. One prank, not even 30 minutes, not even 30 minutes, one prank. It takes them completely out of their category, out of the character. What character was it in the first place? So if God is coming back for a church, if God is coming back for a church, and we know, well, I shouldn't say if, because he is coming back for a church. What is this? What I have seen so many young people. They go to these revivals. They get this hope. They get this hope. They get um, this hope gospel. They get this dream gospel. What is going on? Why have some left the church? And why have some who's in the church, they're in the church, but it seems like they still left the church? What is this? Jesus says, unless a seed falls to the ground, seed falls to the ground and perish, and perish, and perish, and perish, there will be no fruits. There won't be no fruits. You know why you can't walk with God the way you feel in your heart that you should be, that you should? Some of you got to the place where you just receive or accept it. You just accept it because someone preaching to you, someone teaching you, they're giving you this false narrative. What is Jesus saying about the new wine and the new wineskin? What do this mean? You know, when Jesus is referring, or the Bible referring to seeds, it's referring to souls. It's referring to soul. So Jesus is saying, if that soul do not perish, in the ground, that soul will not bear fruit to God's pleasing. To God's pleasing. I come to you today to tell you this. You better hear me right. It doesn't matter how long you've been into the church. It doesn't matter what you think you have did your rounds. You have a monument in this earth. You have a monument of the deeds that you have done, or the speaking engagements that you have done, and the people you have baptized, and the people you have laid hands on, the people that you have given food and clothes. What you don't understand. Hey, how you doing? What you don't understand is that God is looking for a person who is walking and talking and believing from the grave, who is a living resurrection power in the flesh. In the flesh. In the flesh. You must come to God. That He may teach you to die to self. That He may kill the deeds of the body. You must come to God with a desire to kill the deeds in your body, in your mind, in your life, in your spirit, in your character. God must reveal to you the child of the resurrection. If you're not functioning, but only believing, and you're not functioning and growing as a child of the resurrection, you are not a child of the grave. You're not a child of the grave of Christ. You're not a child of the grave of Christ if you're not a child who functions by the resurrection.